off just by telling me a little bit about how you got involved with honk?
Well, sure. I think that in a way it's kind of magical because when I was a kid, when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old, for some reason I had this fantasy that every time we went on a trip with my parents, we would arrive at a place and there'd be a brass band waiting for us, like playing to welcome us. I don't know why I had that fantasy, but I did. It was a very visceral one, like even going to see my grandparents or going to see, going to, I don't know, Montreal for a vacation. You say, when we get there, there'll be a brass band there. That's what I always thought in my head. Maybe my parents used to say something about it. But anyway, of course, there never was a brass band waiting for us when we arrived. I mean, there might be a brass band at a parade, but there wasn't a brass band waiting for us. Until the first year of honk, I walked into Davis Square. Some people had told me it was coming, and I didn't zero in on it for some reason. I walked into the square, and there was a brass band, playing a Spanish Civil War song that I love, the Brass Liberation Orchestra from the Bay Area in California, as it turned out. I didn't know. I just walked in, and I felt like I finally arrived at that destination. I mean, it was so moving that I literally wept. I was like, I'm here. I mean, really dance in the streets. It's dancing in the streets. That's to me is almost the most basic thing you can say about it. But I mean, it's activist too. There's political content of all kinds, issue content. This year the theme was everybody needs a home. We need affordable housing. Immigrants need, a place to come to or their home itself preserved. And we need a planet we can live in. So it sort of tied together the immigration issue, the economic justice issue, and the environmental issue in one theme. So we do a lot with that. And of course, the bands, when they're not playing at the festival, they may be playing for community events. That's a kind of politics too, just building community. But they also, a lot of them play in, protest marches and things all over the world. They're active in politics. One of the things we do is, in fact, one of the most moving things for the German band this year, they said, but it's always moving for people who do it, is to play at the ICE detention center for the people who are detained there. And, they come to the gated bars and wave to the people, because they're so glad to see people there supporting them, showing solidarity with them. They said it was just amazing. They said they're going to go back to Germany and play at the detention center for refugees there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, so it's very important. But it has another aspect, too, which is that it's also a kind of a bacchanal. I mean, I do think that one thing that, has always troubled me anyway, troubled my parents before me because they were very active politically, too, is that, there is a side of human nature that's very negative. It's very aggressive, that even left-wing people can commit terrible crimes, as we've seen. And, nobody's immune to that if you've lived through the 20th century. And there, to get at the root of that is very interesting to me. And one way to get to the root of it is like what Georges Bataille wrote about in the 20th century, the French philosopher. He said that why is it that we are so aggressive? Why do we want to make a bonfire of our resources, like global warming? Right? I mean, he said that in the 1960s already. And he said, well, that's something very deep in us. And there's two ways to approach it. You can either repress it and say, everybody be civil, everybody be nice, everybody be, Or he said you can find the productive way to engage with it, which is to bring it out as something joyful, like carnival, something that is a release of all that energy that's positive rather than violent. So, rather than try to suppress it and say, don't be bad, don't, in other words, being moralistic about it. He said, why don't we embrace it in a positive way? And the traditional cultures have that. That's why they have festivals and sort of days where you can dress up in costume and be different, and sort of be mischievous and wild. And I think that's part of what honk is about, is being positively kind of wild. It's wildness, as they used to say, not just wilderness, but wildness.
Yeah.
We are creatures of the wilderness originally, and we need a little disruption, but in a music makes it a joyful thing. It's not it's a positive thing, and I think that side of it is very profound and interesting. We get, like anything that's trying to do multiple things at the same time, there are disagreements about what they, like where you draw the line, so to speak. But not on who comes in. Everybody's welcome in. If they want to be in, they're in. But, like, for example, bands. Does the band have to be, what does it mean to be activist? Is it enough that they play for, like, their neighborhood block parties? Or is it enough or do they have to play for, like, saving the planet or, for, racial justice or something? I would say I err on the side of, I want all of that there. I don't think there is a dividing line between those things. I want all of that there. And I want people to come in who aren't ready to buy the whole activist thing. Audience members and band members who think it's okay. Like, I'm not going to throw a fit, but I'm here because I like the music, or I'm here because like, I'm here for the community or the music, and then it becomes part of that. And I am an ideological person. I have very strong opinions about politics, but I don't believe that. I want to reach out. I'm an organizer. An organizer organizes the unorganized. He doesn't organize the people. It doesn't play to the choir, right? The choir is organized by definition. I want to play to the people who, that's like my daughter's 20. I want an intervention where I can show people, here's what I'm about. And, if you like it, great. If you want to talk about it, great. We don't have to agree on everything. But, yeah, obviously, we live in very polarized times, and I don't mind if somebody's offended because we're, against racism or fascism or something, like, that's too bad. But on the other hand, I don't want to say you have to be already, one of the converted to come here. Not at all. And so I love it when people come and just say, it's a party, it's a carnival, it's Mardi Gras. I said, that's enough. That's enough, because that too to me is political. That too is of great meaning. Like I was saying, there's a great meaning even to how we deal with our the biggest danger to us, which is our own aggression, our own desire to make a bonfire of our resources. That's killing us.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to kill us.